Hello, welcome to this episode of Rich Insights. I'm Don Rich, the head of investments for Esoterica Capital Management. Today's topic is on the U.S. labor market. Right, we're going to talk about the non-farm payroll number that came out last Friday. It came out better than expected. I imagine you're aware of that by now. Came out better than expected, right? And the equity markets rallied big. But a lot of people, particularly social media, is going nuts, right? The conspiracy theorists are just having a heyday. They believe it's an election year and this number was cooked, right? Because the consensus was for the labor market to continue to deteriorate into May. But again, the non-farm payroll number didn't show that. So again, the argument being proposed is the White House is putting pressure on these reporting agencies to make the numbers look better than they are. I don't think that's true at all. I really don't think that had anything to do with the number at all. The issue seems to come down to furloughed workers, right? Furloughed workers. And, you know, we have various measures of the labor market, right? We have non-farm payrolls. We have the initial claims, right? Those applying for first-time unemployment benefits. We got something called the household survey number, right? The household survey calls individuals and asks them whether they're working. And non-farm payroll calls the companies and asks them for the number of people receiving wages. So normally, you know, all these metrics reinforce each other. All these different measures of the labor market reinforce each other. But right now we have this issue with furloughed workers. Right? All right, so here's the issue. So if you're furloughed, obviously you're not working. But suppose if you're furloughed and being paid. Well, that's kind of the easy one then. You're not considered unemployed if you're being paid, right? That's kind of the easy case. But suppose you're furloughed, you're not being paid, but you are receiving healthcare coverage, the so-called second paycheck. You're not being paid, but you're receiving benefits. Are you employed or unemployed? Well, again, that one's more difficult. And the third case would be that you're furloughed, you're not being paid, but when you go back to work, you're guaranteed to receive back wages. Back pay. Right? Are you unemployed or are you not unemployed? Well, again, these different metrics, these different indices handle these problems differently. Right? They all are based on a set of rules and they handle these special cases differently. And they are special cases. Now, again, normally these differences don't amount to a hill of beans because furloughed workers are so small. But today, of course, they're huge. And I think that really explains why the number was such a surprise on Friday. Why the non-farm payroll number was such a surprise. Well, let's get into the charts. Let's take a look at the numbers themselves. All right, so what we're looking at here is various measures of unemployment. The blue line is what's called the U6 unemployment rate. Those that are unemployed and underemployed. U6 is the broadest measure of unemployment, and it's those that are actually unemployed or underemployed. And you can see that number's at 21%. All right, so it did improve. It did improve from April to May, but look at that versus history. Look at that versus history. So whether the depths of the labor market happened in April or happened in May, I'm less concerned about that. I really don't care about that. Did things improve this month? Yeah, well, according to this measure, they did. But look at how bad they continue to be. I have trouble getting excited about this. This brown line here is the U3 rate, right? It's a common, most popular measure of unemployment. We went from 14.7 to 13.3. Again, it came in, but how does that compare to anything we've seen in the last 30 years? We are still heads and shoulders above, right? Heads and shoulders above. And the other thing, notice this light-colored maroon line here. This is the unemployment rate for young people, 20 to 24-year-olds. It's at 23%, 23.2%. All right. So again, it's improved slightly from April to May, but I don't care. It's still terrible. It's just, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's that bad. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is breaking down the U3 rate into the various classes. Well, first notice they all improved on the month. They all improved slightly on the month. All right, so what we have here on this chart is we have the unemployment rate for those with less than a high school diploma. All right, just shy of 20%. So if you don't have a high school diploma, you're getting hit the hardest. Then we have those with a high school diploma, okay, a little over 15% unemployment. Then we have those with more than a high school diploma, but less than a bachelor's degree. All right, so these are going to be those with a high school diploma that have some trade school training, perhaps a community college sort of thing, something like that. All right, and you can see the unemployment rate there was 13.3, and those with a bachelor's degree or higher, up to a PhD, the unemployment rate was 7.4%. Well, you might say, unemployment rate is 7.5 for a college educated. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. But if you look at, again, that's a black line here. If you look at this black line compared to history, right, we've never seen anything in that category even higher than 5%. So all these measures, my point is, yes, we did improve, but we are still in such bad shape. Does it really matter? I'm not convinced that it does. All right, let's go on. Some people have trouble. They argue that there's some flaws, right? There's some difficulty in terms of measuring unemployed people. Yeah, not only the furloughed workers we talked about, but there's other nuances that make it difficult to determine whether or not you're employed or unemployed. All right, so some people prefer to turn around. Rather than focus on those that are unemployed, let's do it the other way. Let's just measure those that are employed. All right, that's this chart we're looking at now. So if you're above 16 years old, so if you're 16 years old and you're in school, right, 16, 18 years old, and you're in high school, you don't get counted. But if you're above 16 years old and you're not in high school and you're of working age, what does that mean? Well, somewhere between 16 and I don't know, 65, 66. I don't recall what the upper end of working age is in the U.S. But if you're of working age and not in school, this metric picks it up. All right, the employment rate. And where are we at on this? Well, at the end of May, we were at 52.8% of the working age population was employed. Again, slight improvement from where we were before, but still terrible. Much lower than anything we've ever seen for the last 30 years. All right, let's keep going here. Is there any good news at all going on right now? Well, the economy's reopening, right? And we're starting from such a small base, and when you start reopening everything, right, all the numbers start looking fabulous, I guess. Much better than they were. But they're still way below they were pre-crisis level. But if there is a bit of good news, it might be in this chart, right? This is a National Federation of Independent Businesses, right? These are small business owners that have hard to fill jobs. And you can see with so many people out of work, just a few months ago, they were having trouble filling all these hard to fill jobs, the so-called hard to fill jobs. Today, they're able to do that, right? That's not an issue at all. That shortage of supply has gone away. Is that good news? I don't know. You've got to really stretch the envelope to see if that's good news. All right, our next chart here is we talked about non-farm payrolls as a measure of the labor market. The household survey, again, non-farm payrolls measures things from the business perspective. Household surveys measures it from the worker perspective. And then we got initial claims. Well, also we have these ISM numbers that have a subgroup on employment. All right, so we have ISM manufacturing and ISM services. So we can also look at those. Now, those metrics are put together here. And you can see they show that May was even worse than April. All right, so just about everyone anticipate that May is going to be the worst of the labor market, right? The lowest point. But whether it's April or May, does it really matter? Some say, non-farm payroll said it was April, a household survey said it was April, but this one says still showing pain throughout May. And finally, we have announced layoffs. All right. Yes, this is a metric as well. So these are companies that have announced that layoffs are coming, but these people have not been pink slipped at this point. All right, so this not only tells us, what's happening today, but what these people that are likely to be laid off next month. Okay, so that's called the Challenger Index here, the Challenger numbers. And you can see, again, April was really bad, right? That was a peak. Your last observation was in May. So things did improve from April, but we're still looking at 400,000 newly unemployed people coming in June. All right, now some of these people may be employed immediately, even though they're going to be laid off one job. They may be hired another one, and so they never show up. It may take longer than 1 month as well, right? If a company announces layoffs today, maybe it's going to take 2-3 months before they actually enact the layoffs. So All we know from that last chart is that 400,000 people are expected to be laid off in the future. Right, in the near future, let's call it that. So, yes, the labor market numbers on Friday were better than expected. But by all measures that I can see, they're still terrible. They're still horrible numbers. I scratch my head. Why does it make so much difference if the depth of the labor market were, happened in April or happened in May? I don't care. I don't give a shit. We're starting to recover, but things are still really, really bad by all measures. And things are likely to start getting better, but the speed at which they get better, of course, is going to be the main concern going forward. But anyway, that's my assessment of the U.S. labor market today. My name's Don Rich, and you've just experienced a rich insight. I hope you've enjoyed it. May your beer be colder than the company you keep. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.